Hi, friend. Erin Chase here, and welcome to another episode of The Erin Chase Show. I want to make sure everything is working correctly before we carry on. I think we are good to go. Let me know what your kids are cooking these days. We are going to be talking all about kids' cooking skills, 7 cooking skills that I think all kids should know, 7 cooking skills that I am teaching to my boys. I have one who is getting ready to start his senior year of high school, so the clock is ticking. There's a lot of things that we need to learn between now and launch mode, both in life and as well as in the kitchen. But we do a lot of things in the kitchen together. And my boys actually helped me to develop the WizKid cooking curriculum that we have here to help really anybody learn how to cook, but also it's especially designed for kids. It's set up for kids, but if you're an adult, you can absolutely use it too. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes, but I wanted to go over a couple of things that I think all kids should know how to cook. Last night, as I was tucking in one of the boys, it was, Mom, I want to make French toast in the morning. Great. That's all you, buddy. I got some things I've already got slotted for the morning. I might be able to help you, but I know you can do it on your own, so you're on your own. It ended up working out really well. And yeah, it's just nice to have kiddos who can cook for themselves. Sorry, something fell. So anyways, 7 things. 7 cooking skills. I'm just making sure everything's tracking right here. The first one is grilled cheese. Maybe I should have put French toast. Well, we'll get to breakfast in a minute. Grilled cheese. I think that's really important because once you understand like the nuances of grilled cheese, then you okay, sorry, just making sure we're good. Then you can do a lot with the grilled cheese, right? So like once you understand the basics of, the butter, what kind of condiment should you put on the inside of the bread? Some people say butter, some people say mayonnaise. I say whatever flavored sauce goes with whatever you're cooking. Then you can experiment with different flavors of cheese. You could add in things like bacon, and we did a caprese one that was super delicious that had like fresh basil leaves and sliced tomatoes and mozzarella cheese, right? Like you can play with flavors once you know how to do that base grilled cheese, if you will. Does that make sense? So understanding the nuances of the heat level, if you're cooking on a skillet, if you're cooking on a griddle, if you're using like a panini press, like however you're doing your cooking. And so I think that just a basic grilled cheese is super important, also very affordable, also very kid friendly, right? So that's number 1. Number 2 is simple baking, not like wild and crazy, baking processes and, doing this and doing that. There's baking is amazing. It's actually a science. But I think that just simple baking is really important for kids to learn how to do. Is it going to get a little messy? It's going to get a little messy, and that is okay. I want it to get messy. It's part of learning. Making mistakes and making messes is part of learning in the kitchen, and that is okay. That is definitely a value that we have with WizKid. And so, but basic baking, and we have a baked oatmeal recipe that I think is really fantastic. It's very easy to put together. It's not a thick batter, so the kids aren't having to do a lot of, folding and turning and mixing. I just think it's a fantastic, great place to start with baking. It's just a baked oatmeal. And if you've never made a baked oatmeal before, we have a bunch of recipes on the $5 Dinners website that are super fantastic. Of course, we have one in the WizKid book as well. And it's just simple because it teaches the basics of the wet ingredients, the dry ingredients, how they mix together to form a batter, how that batter then gets transferred into whatever dish and then gets baked. So that's a really fantastic place to start. If your kid is interested in baking and you want a good place to start, I think that's great, again, because the batter is so if you go to make it, you'll be like, oh, this isn't right. This is too loose. It's supposed to be like that. Okay, so I think that's why I wanted to share that option and that concept, just simple baking. The next is how to properly scramble an egg. You know, there's like hundreds of ways to cook eggs, but scrambling eggs is fast, it's easy. It's just fast and easy. We do a lot of scrambled eggs in the mornings on our very busy mornings, on school days, getting out the door, we can still pull that off. And so I think it's really important for kids to learn. Daisy's right here. Can you see her? She's like, please help me. So scrambling eggs and just the concept of, aerating the eggs and getting them nice and fluffy before you even pour them into your hot skillet. Those are some of the little things that we teach, and just cooking skills. Once you can make a scrambled egg, you could then make scrambled eggs to put onto a breakfast sandwich. I usually do a baked egg on a breakfast sandwich, but you could absolutely do a little section of scrambled eggs. Then you could do breakfast tacos. Tyler, I shared a photo over on Instagram. I think I might have shared it here as well. Earlier this month, I think it was earlier in June. It might have been the end of May. And he just made himself a breakfast taco with scrambled eggs and bacon. Good job, son. But that's all because of these little lessons that we've done over the years and just the confidence that they have in cooking. And I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, next is a meatball slider. This is just gonna be a great concept. It's super kid friendly, super family friendly, super budget friendly. You're gonna use pre-cooked meatballs, so those are frozen. We're gonna learn how to put those into kind of a slider format with different flavors, different sauces, different cheeses, things like that. So just understanding a slider bake, whether it's ham and cheese, meatball, chicken nugget. Again, we have all the baked cheeseburgers. We have all these recipes, but I think that concept and the skill of putting together the sliders and then baking them together, there's lots of different things you can do with it. And that's what I'm hoping you're hearing as I talk through each of these 7 things, is that there's lots of different ways that you could do that. Kristen, I'll come back to your comment at the end. Next, enchiladas. This is getting a little bit, I tried to do this from simplest to a little bit more advanced in terms of the order of what I'm working through here. And I think enchiladas are really fantastic, again, because there's so many different ways that you can make them. But understanding the concept of making a filling, rolling up the tortillas, putting them seam side down, putting a sauce on top, dredging it with cheese, shredded cheese, just that concept that it's not really a casserole, it's almost like a casserole concept. But I think enchiladas, because you can do corn or flour tortillas, you can mix up all kinds of different types of fillings. You can do a vegetarian filling, a chicken-based filling, a shrimp filling, a beef filling. There's so many choices for the different fillings that you can do, and just understanding the nuances of, you want a thick filling, you don't want it to be super liquidy, because if it's super liquidy, then your tortillas are gonna get soggy, and that's not okay. So just basically the concepts of the filling with the tortillas, and then of course baking and warming it all through. I think enchiladas, they're a crowd favorite around here. We live in Texas, we do eat a lot of Tex-Mexy type things, but I know they're a crowd favorite everywhere. They're also super affordable. You can stretch them out. You could make one to cook tonight, you can freeze another batch to cook later. So just super versatile type of recipe, and I think just the skill of mixing up the filling, rolling up the enchiladas, and getting it cooked is just something that all my boys know how to do. Another reason that I picked that recipe to go into with Skid. And then last, I think the most complicated is going to be a homemade chicken tender. Everybody loves chicken tenders, right? Everybody's got silver, red status, whatever, at Chick-fil-A. So being able to make a homemade version is also, I think, a great skill, and just understanding, cutting up the chicken, or you could do chicken tenders if you wanted to use tenderloins, you could do that as well. And then understanding the concept of your kind of the liquid base, which is usually an egg or a mixture of egg and some other ingredients, and then some sort of a breading. And then whether that's breadcrumb based, or we have a potato chip chicken that is fantastic. You could do barbecue potato chips. There's lots of different options. Again, another type of a recipe and type of cooking skill, where once you know how to do, prep the chicken, get it breaded, get it into the oven, sky's the limit on what different types of flavors and options and types of meals that you can put together using kind of that cooking skill and cooking strategy. So those are the 7. Super fast recap. I have my list here because I don't want to forget one. You always draw a blank on that last thing. That's why some of those games are hilarious. Those games where you have to think of things like you can't think of that last thing. Okay, grilled cheese. Baking, in this case, I talked you through a little bit the baked oatmeal concept. Scrambling eggs opens up lots of different options for different breakfasty type meals. Meatball sliders, enchiladas, homemade chicken tenders. I totally forgot one. That's only 6. Pasta skillets, which we actually did that. I think it was last week we made, or 2 weeks ago, we made cheeseburger pasta skillet. So that is the concept of a pasta skillet, is cooking the base, whether it's vegetable, chicken, ground beef, whatever sauce, and then adding in the pasta and the liquid and just the nuances of that, and then putting the lid on the skillet and letting the skillet cook that pasta, 6, 7, 8 minutes, depending on the type of pasta that you're using, and then removing it from the heat, and you've got yourself this gorgeous pasta skillet. You could, garnish it with cheese or, fresh herbs or whatever you're cooking. But again, that concept of cooking the base, adding in the pasta with the liquid opens up. Once you know how to do that, you can mix and match ingredients and flavors. Again, sky's the limit with that kind as well. So those are just the 7, cooking skills and types of cooking strategies, types of recipes that I think are really important that all kids should know how to do. So with that, I want to talk you through WizKid. We've been talking about this all month long. It's a great resource for your kids learning how to cook. And I'm going to answer some questions that we get about this a lot. I'm going to show it to you first. So who is WizKid for? I kind of answered this earlier, but it is for anybody who wants to learn how to cook. WizKid has 10 different dinner recipes, 5 breakfast recipes, and 5 lunch recipes. And there's a freezer cooking setup in there because I have to teach you about that. So the idea here is to, as you see on the cover there, stir up confidence and creativity in the kitchen and just instilling those basic life skills. All of the recipes that I talked you through here today, all of the 7 are in here and then some. All of the recipes that are in the book. Let me show you an example. This is the pasta skillet I was just talking to you about. They have, well, first of all, the recipes. It also has all the different cookware that you're going to need. And then right there, that one on the bottom, I'm so bad at doing this mirrored. Cooking objectives. Each of the recipes tells you what you're going to learn. And I think that this is super important. It's a breakdown of all the different things you're going to learn. And I think if we put it all together, you're going to learn a lot of things through these 20 different recipes. I strategically chose each of the recipes to have different types of cooking skills and cooking strategies like I've talked through here today. And so it's super, super fantastic. Another question we get, age. The age is going to depend on your child's interest level as well as your ability to help them or not. My older kids could work through these lessons on their own with a little bit of supervision. If you have a younger kiddo, you're going to 3, 4, 5, 6, you're going to need to be in there with them, but letting them kind of go through the lesson where you're just kind of their close-knit supervisor, just like you would be if you were brand new to a job. You're really kind of watching them really closely. If you have older kids or maybe they are a little bit comfortable in the kitchen, they can do a few things and you want them to work through the lessons, you might just kind of have to watch from a distance just to make sure they're staying safe. I go through all of that in the videos. So you can do WizKid whenever you want, whenever your schedule allows. We have friends who have completed the whole thing. We have friends who do, 2 or 3 a month. However you want to work through it is completely up to you. You can, whenever it fits into your meal plan, you could just be like, okay, Thursday night's Johnny's night, and Johnny's in charge, and he picks one of the recipes. You make sure he has the ingredients he needs, and he goes from there. So how it works is, we developed this at the start of the pandemic when we were all stuck at home. I taught my boys how to cook live. And so we took those videos where I'm instructing them, but at the same time, I was also instructing you and your kids. And I recorded all of those videos and we have them all hosted nicely, packaged up for you so they coordinate with the lessons that are in the book. So the book is your guide, and then the videos are what you would actually then watch as you're cooking through. And we go at a pace where my kids are cooking, so there's no editing, there's no please hold. It's all, recorded as if I was teaching you virtually, essentially. We're all familiar with virtual education nowadays, aren't we? And then lastly, I wanted to leave you with why. And again, it's stirring up that confidence and creativity, especially if you have a kiddo who's interested in cooking. These are great foundational type recipes. And second, just basic life skills. Like just you want your kid to be able to go off into the world knowing how to cook more than a box of mac and cheese or whatever, a package of ramen. Although those are important skills to learn when you're on a super tight budget in college. But all that to say, just being able to do this as you move into life and you're like cooking for roommates, or you have a boyfriend, or you're a young couple, like whatever it is, you need to be able to learn how to cook all of these different things so that you have that good variety in your cooking repertoire. So that is what I wanted to share with you. So you should be able to see a link somewhere on the video, in the comments, below the comments, in the description if you're watching this later. If you're listening to this, there's going to be a link in the show notes. Please check that out. We have 4 different options of the book. We have a digital version, if that's your jam. We have the digital option. We also have a printed version. And then we also have 2 different sort of kits, if you will, or packs, where it comes with other little goodies and gadgets that you can, that'll just make it a little bit easier for you to be working with your kids in the kitchen. So if you have not yet checked out the WisKid cooking lessons, I would encourage you to spend some time today or this weekend and doing that, and get your kids started on these lessons. We had the most fabulous time putting all this together, and it is such a joy to get to hear the different, the kiddos who have learned what they've learned and what successes they have had. So be sure to check that out. So that is all that I have for you for this week's episode of the Erin Chase Show. It is bye for now, and we'll see you again soon.